Did you know that a war once raged for 250 years? A war of fire against water, of dragons against a river goddess, and it all ended with 10,000 ships fleeing into the sunset. This is the incredible, tragic story of the Rhoynish Wars. Long before the dragons ruled the skies of Westeros, the river ruled the lands of Essos. The Rhoynar were not conquerors. They were river-born warriors when needed, but peaceful by nature. Their cities built along the massive river Rhoyne were wonders of art and culture. They believed their goddess, the Mother Rhoyne, gave life, and that life was a gift to be shared. And then, sails appeared on the horizon. From the smoking peninsula of Valyria, a new power was rising. Explorers, merchants, and dragonlords. They established colonies along the Rhoyne, with the greatest being Volantis, right at the river's mouth. They came smiling as guests in Rhoynar lands, offering trade and friendship. At first the Rhoynar welcomed them. Why wouldn't they? They saw only opportunity. But they soon learned that gratitude from Valyria meant something very different. It meant slaughtering the sacred giant turtles the Rhoynar revered. It meant enslaving their people. It meant fire. The breaking point was small, but it ignited a continent. The Valyrians of Volantis attacked a Rhoynish city for trying to stop their slaving and poaching. The Rhoynar fought back. History calls it the First Turtle War. It lasted less than a month, but it was the first drop of blood in a conflict that would span 2.5 centuries. For the next 200 years, a series of bitter wars raged up and down the river. The dragonlords possessed fire and blood, but the Rhoynar possessed water and an unbreakable will. They had their own magic, what the Valyrians scornfully called water magic. Their water wizards could raise the river's level, create mists, and summon whirlpools to swallow enemy ships. But for every victory, Valyria returned stronger, more relentless, with more dragons. The Rhoynar were fractured. Their great city-states, like Sahoi, Goyon, Dro, and Croyon, fought independently. They were proud and stubborn, and this division was their weakness. After centuries of bloodshed, a prince rose who saw the truth unite or perish. From the magnificent city of Croyon, the city of festivals, came a prince named Garin. We know him as Garin the Great. He was a charismatic and brilliant commander, and he traveled from city to city, pleading for unity. He argued that their only hope against the might of the Valyrian freehold was to stand together, as one people, under one banner. And for the first time in history, the Rhoynar listened. 5 proud city-states put aside their rivalries and answered his call. Garin the Great assembled the largest army Essos had ever seen. 250,000 warriors marched south. Their goal, to utterly destroy Volantis and drive the Valyrians from the river for good. The early campaign was a stunning success. Garin's water wizard summoned floods that swept away Valyrian outposts. Their forces retook Sahoi and Goyandro at the Battle of Volantis. Garin crushed a Valyrian army of 100,000 men, supported by 3 He didn't just win, he annihilated them. 2 of the dragons were shot from the sky with arrows and drowned in the river. The third fled, wounded. News of this defeat sent shockwaves through the freehold for the first time in 4,000 years. Valyria felt fear, but Valyrian fear doesn't lead to peace. It breeds fury. Enraged by Garin's victories, the dragonlords of Old Valyria decided to end the Rhoynar threat once and for all. It wasn't 3 dragons that answered Volantis' call for aid. It wasn't 10, it was 300. The sky itself blackened with leathery wings. What came next wasn't a battle. It was an apocalypse. Flames poured from the heavens like rain. The great Rhoynar cities, marvels of architecture, melted into slag. The mighty river Rhoyne boiled. The 250,000-strong host that Garin had led was annihilated in a matter of hours. The Rhoynish armies were broken, their magic overwhelmed by dragon fire. Garin himself was captured. The Valyrians wanted to make an example of him. They locked him in a golden cage and hung it high from the walls of his own burning city, Croyon. They forced him to watch as his people were slaughtered, as his culture was erased, as everything he had fought for turned to ash and ruin. And as Croyon burned, as the screams echoed around him, legend says, Garin whispered a final, desperate prayer to the Mother Rhoyne. He cursed the Valyrians. That very night, something impossible happened. The river, which should have been low, began to rise. It flooded the ruins of Croyon. A thick, unnatural fog rolled in from the water, a fog that dragonfire could not burn away. And in that fog, the victorious Valyrian soldiers began to sicken. Their flesh hardened, cracking like stone. Their minds faded. They became monstrous. The maesters of the citadel would later give this disease a name, grayscale. But the Rhoynar who survived whispered another name for it, Prince Garin's curse. Even centuries later, the ruins of Croyon remained shrouded in that same eerie fog, a place of death haunted by the afflicted stone men who wandered the riverbanks, a permanent, chilling monument to Garin's final act of defiance. With the armies destroyed and dragons hunting any survivors, all hope seemed lost. The Rhoynar were on the brink of extinction. But there was one voice, one leader, who had warned against this war from the very beginning. Princess Nymeria of the city of Nysar. She was a shrewd and pragmatic ruler who knew that a war against Valyria and their dragons was unwinnable. While Garin marched to war, she had prepared for the worst. Now, with Garin dead and their civilization in ruins, she took charge. She gathered the women, the children, the elderly, and the few broken warriors who remained. All that was left of an entire people. Her decision was radical. They could not stay. Their home was gone. She commanded them to build ships. Every river raft, every fishing skiff, every merchant vessel that hadn't been burned, anything that could float was seized. They constructed a massive, desperate fleet. A fleet that would be remembered in legend as the 10,000 ships. It was a symbol not of conquest, but of survival. They sailed down the Rhoyne one last time, past the smoking ruins of their lives. In a daring move, they slipped past the harbor of mighty Volantis, through the western mouth of the river, and out into the vast, unknown waters of the summer sea. For years, they wandered a nation adrift. They tried to settle on the Basilisk Isles, but were preyed upon by Slavus. They found refuge in Sathoyos, only to be ravaged by disease and strange beasts. They sailed to the island of Noth, the land of butterflies, but a plague forced them to flee once more. Their numbers dwindled. Hope was fading. Then, after years of hardship, they spotted land. A sun-scorched, rocky peninsula at the very southern tip of a continent they did not know. Westeros. They had reached dawn. Here, in this harsh but empty land, Nymeria made her final, dramatic command. As her people disembarked, she ordered them to burn the ships. Flames rose high along the shore, consuming the entire fleet. There would be no turning back, no retreat, no return to chains or a life of wandering. Dorne was their new home, or it would be their grave. This act of finality is what defines her legacy. In Dorne, Nymeria proved as brilliant a diplomat as she was a leader. She made an alliance with a local lord, Mors Martell. She married him, and their two peoples joined together. The Rhoynar brought their knowledge, their culture, and their customs, while the Martells offered their strength and knowledge of the land. Together, they conquered and united the warring kingdoms of Dorne for the very first time. Nymeria herself ruled as Princess of Dorne for decades, a title passed down through her line, regardless of gender, a Rhoynish custom that endures to this day. So the Rhoynar did not vanish, they transformed. Their blood still flows in the veins of the Dornish people. Their spirit lives in every prince or princess of House Martell, whose full title is Prince of Dorne, and whose banner is a sun pierced by a spear. Their story became a legend, a foundational epic in the world of A Song of Ice and Fire. It's a reminder that fire may conquer cities and melt stone, but memory, culture, and the will to survive can flow like a river. And rivers never truly die. Thanks for watching. If you love diving deep into the history of fantasy worlds, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.